Hey lovelies, today I'm showing you how to make pesto balls which are vegan and gluten free. For this you're going to need the following: cannellini beans, 2 tins of tomatoes, 3 cloves of garlic, carrots, half a cup of cooked quinoa, peppers, some pesto which I'll link to a recipe down below, an onion, tomato paste, nutritional yeast, celery, a courgette, a teaspoon of oregano, a teaspoon of garlic salt, and of course whatever pesto you decide to use. To get started, just chop off the ends of your onion, peel the skin off and chop it in half. And now for this, you don't need to be too fussy with how you chop it. I just sort of like to finely dice it because I find that's the best way to help things cook faster. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. Then onto the carrots, cut the ends off, make sure you rip that skin off as well. And then cut it down lengthways and again lengthways so you kind of get 4 sides, if that makes any sense at all. And chop that into small-ish pieces. Again, we will be using a food processor so we don't need to be too fussy. And same with the celery. Now onto the courgette. I find it easier to just cut it down lengthways and do it the same way that we did the carrots. And then there you go, cutting it into quarters. With the pepper, you don't need to use too much. I only use the bottom quarter of the red one and then roughly a half of the yellow one. Then just cut those into pieces again. Now remember that trick from our last video? Always cut it the opposite way that logic tells you. So much easier this way. Now I've just got a couple of teaspoons of hot water in a pan. Just chuck the onion on in there. And I like to smush it on down and put this on a medium to high heat. Really try and break that stuff up. Pop a lid on it, help the process. Oh, the magic of TV, woo! And then just give that a good old stir around. Chuck in the rest of your vegetables and give it a good stir around. Now we're on to those 3 cloves of garlic with my favourite thing, which is my microplane. I don't know what I would do without this. So in goes 1, 2, always be careful with your fingers and nails guys, and 3. And then remember to scrape off all that goodness from the back. Oh my gosh, the smell of this is so good. You just stir it on up and then let that all sweat together. Now we've got a chance to move on over to our balls. So you drain and rinse that can of cannellini beans and then you really mash this. And I mean, this takes around about 4 minutes. So this is counting as my arm workout for the day, but you want to try and make sure you get a decent enough consistency. Then you go and chuck in your cooked quinoa and then the pesto as well. So this is roughly 3 big tablespoons I'm chucking in here, so it's about half a cup. Then a big tablespoon of the tomato paste as well. Just mash it on in there, make sure the flavours are fully combined as well, because this is all of your wet ingredients, which really helps make sure any herbs and spices you add in afterwards get incorporated a lot better too. In goes roughly a teaspoon of nutritional yeast, and then maybe roughly half a teaspoon more. Remember to taste this throughout, make sure it's according to your taste. And goes some garlic salt and some of that oregano mix from before. Chuck in a bit of pepper. You don't need any extra salt for this because otherwise, that might be a bit much. Yep, wow, that's steamy. So clearly, after you give this a good old stir, it's time to add in those tomatoes. So in goes 1 tin, then the next. Make sure to combine that nicely. Then in goes the remainder of those herbs and spices from before. Just a hint of that nutritional yeast for this one. We didn't need the full 2 tablespoons because it was like a big couple of tablespoons with this one. Now it's time to make your balls. Use a couple of spoons the same way that you used to make cupcakes. If any of you still do, then you're more domestic than me. Congratulations. So I just spaced these a couple of inches apart on a pre-lined baking sheet. Just sort of pat them into the right shape and voila, you have a full tray. This will do us for like 3 decent sized meals. Chuck it into an oven at 190 degrees on fan bake. And then put those in there for roughly 20 minutes to half an hour, depending on how good your oven is. Now it's on to the blending. This is where all of the work goes on, and you don't need to do any of it, except for the washing up. Now, because I am not using this mixture tonight, I am actually putting it all in the fridge because I like to cook everything up on the weekend to make my life a lot easier during the week. And it goes into the food container. It doesn't look that appealing, but it smells so good, as do these balls. Oh my god, golden goodness. So that's what you end up with. To test that they're cooked properly, make sure to just pick one up and just make sure that the bottom is nice and hard. Then you cook your pasta and serve up. Today I used vegan fettuccine, and oh, it's so good. I hope you guys enjoy this recipe, and see you guys next week.